So I get this bad news today, right? Alia sometimes hides her feeling in Russian season 2 is postponed to next year. My day is ruined. Okay? There's no meaning in life anymore. What's the point? This year might as well just end. Okay? What's the point? I wake up to this awful news that I'm not gonna get the show this year. But then I do get some good news to bounce back. As a large part of Wildlife, the team that worked and made Highguard has been laid off. Completely gone. So this comes just after one of the lead devs of Highguard said that it doesn't matter how many people play their game. Well, it kind of does, because if a lot of people played your game, this wouldn't have fucking happened. So Jeff Keighley talked about this, and they're just roasting him in the goddamn comments, man. They are roasting him here. I just killed the game studio in my freaking Game Awards. Like, it's great. Here's Fake Wizard. You caused this, Jeff. You oversold. They underdelivered. Doesn't matter if we get 1,000 or 100 million players. Narrator, it mattered. Time to explain this, Jeff. Overselling stuff and now lamenting it? I feel sorry for the staff members of the studio, but not for someone who tried to oversell a game no one wanted. That is you. And there's this little, in 48 hours I'll be accepting your apologies. Well, Jeff, we want an apology for what you fucking sold us. And there's another one, this was you, right? That's crazy, Jeff. Wow. Oh my god. Wow. So, yeah, the developers of Highguard have, a lot of them have been laid off, and one of them, right here, Josh Sobel, made a fucking made a full-on fucking monologue about it. So we're gonna go over it and read it, and we're gonna tear him to shreds, because when you hear what he says, it's fucking crazy. Apologies for the length. Been wanting to say a lot of this for a while. The day leading to the Game Awards 2025 was among the most exciting of my life. After 2.5 years of passionately working on Highguard, we were ready to reveal it to the world. The future seemed bright. Everyone I knew who had any connections to the team or project had the same sentiments. This is lightning in a bottle. I trust this team wholeheartedly. If there's one project nobody in industry is worried will fail, it's yours. So this is just toxic positivity, which is a scourge upon the Western media, in shows, movies, and games, where it's just an echo chamber talking endlessly about how good this thing is, about how good this project is. You have no contradicting voices to tell you, hey, maybe we don't do this, maybe we don't do that, I don't think that works. It's just constant reassurance, constant positivity. It's fucking absurd, and that's why people get too fucking comfy. The internal pre-reveal feedback, even from unbiased sources, was quite positive, and where it was negative, it was constructive and often actionable. So this is you covering your ass, because I'm sure if there was negative feedback, you probably didn't fucking listen to it, but you're gonna write that you did. People who played the game, including us, had a blast. We, the developers, played our game, and we, the developers, deemed that it was good. And since we were an independent, self-published studio built with royalties in mind, many of us were hoping this could finally be the thing that broke the millennial financial curse. But when the trailer came out, it was all downhill from there. Content creators love to point out the bias in folks who gave positive reviews being flown out for an event, but ignore the fact that when their negative leaning content gets 10 times the engagement of the positive, they've got just as much incentive to lean into the disingenuous direction, whether consciously or not. So you are admitting that the people you flew out were disingenuous. That's what you're admitting right here. You're admitting the people you flew out were disingenuous. And then, so let's get into this. Like, the negative leading content got 10 times the engagement. Yes, it did, of course, because the reason the negative engagement took off is because that's how most people felt about your game when the trailer was out. That's why all this negative content got so popular, because that's how most people felt. Most people saw your game trailer and went, this is the most generic hero shooter I've seen since the last generic hero shooter. The hate started immediately. In addition to dogpiling on the trailer, I personally came under fire due to my naivety on Twitter, which almost all of my now former coworkers have learned to avoid during their previous game launches. After setting my Twitter account to private to protect my sanity, pussy, many content creators made videos and posts about me and my cowardice, that's what it was, amassing millions of views and inadvertently sending hundreds of angry gamers into my replies. Oh, it's them angry gamers. Oh boy. I can't wait. Are they gonna fucking blame Gamergate in 2026? They laughed at me for being proud of the game, told me to get the McDonald's applications out. Well, I mean, were they wrong? And mocked me for listing having autism in my bio, which they seemed to think was evidence the game would be woke trash. All of this was very emotionally taxing. Well, I mean, if you put you have some illness or some fucking shit in your bio for sympathy points, for virtue signaling points, yeah, they're gonna call you out for it. As rightly you should. Right? I have a social, not even just a social, I have an anxiety disorder. You see me putting that shit in my bio? No. I don't put in my fucking Twitter bio or my fucking YouTube bio, by the way, I've got anxiety disorder. Why the fuck would I want people to know about that? So what? People can go to me and go, oh, I'm gonna support him because he's got anxiety. Shut the fuck up. I'd slap you across the face for that. Don't pity me. What the fuck? So when people like you do this for virtue signaling points, for just sympathy points, oh, look at me, I've got this disease, you should like me. Shut up. There's much constructive criticism that can be and has been said about Highguard's trailer, marketing, and launch, but I don't think it's my place to commentate on that, because any sort of constructive criticism that was given to you, you immediately dismiss as hateful, spiteful, like engagement farming grifting. That's all you do. You don't actually read the constructive criticism that is there. You just immediately dismiss it. So how do you know if there was any constructive criticism when you probably dismissed it all from the get-go? You probably didn't even read them. You just went, oh, they hated it. They must be a grifter. Shut up. Read the fucking thing. We went over this in a video. When we looked at the Highguard Steam reviews, there was genuine constructive criticism in there. Genuine constructive criticism of people saying what could be fixed, why they don't like it. I did not see a lot of like, oh, this game's woke shit in there. I mainly saw, I can't run the game on my fucking PC, it sucks. Why is the map so goddamn big? These characters look completely boring. The gameplay is shallow as a puddle. Boring shit like that. But you probably didn't read that. You probably immediately saw that and went, oh my god, they're review bombing. I also don't think there's any way to know whether the launch would have fared better or worse without the massive spotlight that was thrown onto us in response to the Game Awards trailer placement. Your launch would have fared worse. Much worse. Because your game would have launched on Steam and it would have died in like you got like, what was their max? 100k? Right? They got like almost close to like 100k people playing Highguard on launch. You never would have got that if it wasn't for the Game Awards. Never. You would have been lucky to get 10k max. Right? That's where you would have been lucky to get. If it wasn't for the Game Awards, your game would have launched on Steam and died on Steam and barely anyone would have heard about it. Because it would have just been another generic shooter number 45 came out and died. We were turned into a joke from minute one, largely due to false assumptions about $1 million ad placement, which even prominent journalists soon began to state as fact. Can you blame them? Can you blame them when that's usually the standard, is you pay an exorbitant amount of money to have a trailer at the Game Awards? Obviously people thought, oh, you must have paid. Because, you know, common sense. It wasn't until after that Jeff Keighley's like, no, I just thought the game was cool. Within minutes, it was decided. The game was dead on arrival, and creators now had free rage bait content for a month. There we go, see? It's the rage bait content. Every one of our videos on social media got downvoted to hell. Did you ever think it was because people saw it and thought it was shit? Comment sections were flooded with copy and paste meme phrases such as Concord 2 and Titanfall 3 died for this, because that's what it looked like. It looked like, oh, this is just Concord 2 because it looks similar. Titanfall 3 died for this. Yes, because a lot of the people who made your game worked on Titanfall. At launch, we received over 14k review bombs from users with less than an hour of playtime. Many didn't even finish the required tutorial, because many couldn't, because your game wasn't working. Your game was a juddery, glitchy, buggy mess that they couldn't even play the fucking game. Some people didn't get to finish the tutorial. Some people didn't get to play. In discussions online about Highguard, Concord, 2XKO, and such, it is often pointed out by gamers that devs like to blame gamers for their failures, and that's silly, as if gamers have no power, but they do, a lot of it. I'm not saying our failure is purely the fault of gamer culture. Well, that's make you make it seem that way. and that the game would have thrived without the negative discourse. But it absolutely played a role. It's not gamers' fault, but it's also gamers' fault that they didn't like our game. You can't force people to like your shit. If you don't want gamers to not hate your stuff, if you want gamers to like your game, make a good fucking game then. But that's not what you did. You made one of the most generic, boring things ever fucking imaginable. All product had to win with consumers, and the consumers put absurd amounts of effort into slandering Highguard, and it worked. Yes, exactly. Products are at the whim of the consumer. The consumers played your game and went, it wasn't worth their fucking time. You don't go to a restaurant, which is based on the consumer, right? You go to a restaurant, you don't like the food, you don't go there again. That's how it goes. You watch a YouTuber, right? You don't like their content. You don't watch them anymore. That's the whim of the consumer. Because I don't like it, I'm just not going to do anything about it. That's the same with Highguard. You play a video game. I don't like this video game. I'm not going to play it anymore. Right? Or you watch a trailer of the game and you're like, that's not for me. I'm not going to play that. I'm not even going to buy it. That's how it works. Many of Wildlight's former devs will now be forced to assimilate back to the actual corporate industry many gamers accuse Wildlight of being a part of. No, they're actually going to McDonald's. Now, every time someone thinks about leaving the golden handcuffs behind in favor of making new multiplayer games the indie way, they'll say, but remember how gamers didn't even give Wildlight a chance? No one's gonna fucking think that. No one's gonna remember your fucking company in a year from now. Soon, if this pattern continues, all that will be left are corporations. They're already there anyway. At least in this multiplayer space, innovation is on life support. I agree with you on that, but you're not helping. What you have wasn't innovative at all. Even if Highguard had a rocky launch, our independent, self-published, dev-led studio full of passionate people just trying to make a fun game with zero AI and zero corporate oversight deserve better than this. See, he's making it seem like, oh, we're just the scrappy little underdogs, you know, it's just a couple of us in a garage making a game, when it's not. It's former Apex Legends Titanfall devs. Right here, you even say in your bio, you formerly worked at Disney, DreamWorks, and Blue Sky Studios. So don't act like all of you are just, oh, we're just scrappy little underdogs. You all have experience in this before. I wish the best of luck to the few who remain, and hope Highguard can stay the course. Doubtful. I still believe in it, and so do the fans we reach, who continue to champion on the subreddit, Discord, Twitch, and social. So it's 3 of the most toxic fucking sites ever. One of them who's filled with absolute fucking raving lunatics. One of them who protects child predators and wants your digital ID. And the other one, which is run by a guy who loves hanging out with underage women. Awesome. And even though this adventure has come to an abrupt and emotionally challenging close, I don't regret 1 second of it. So then he also here wants to highlight some journalists right here, which I'm pretty sure are all a bunch of journalists who sucked the Highguard dick. One here, Khalif Adams, I believe that is the Mighty Keef. I believe, I could be wrong. If it is, that guy sucks. But yeah, I'm pretty sure all these journalists probably were massive Highguard fans, if I can assume. So the response to his article isn't going well. Reflecting on Highguard doesn't reflect at all. Just blames gamers again. You failed to learn anything. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Oh, here we go. Here's one. I haven't played the game. The genre was my cup of tea, and I had neither positive or negative sentiment towards it. However, as a business person, I immediately knew what went wrong when I saw this part of the post. When you only have positive criticism and not hard truths about your games, especially a game where the market is oversaturated, you cannot rely on this type of feedback, which delivers nothing. You are asking friends, family, and close industry people whether they play this game, when you should be asking, can we get 100,000 people to switch from Apex, Marvel Rivals, or Valorant to play our game? There was no validation for that feedback. No alpha, no early access, no public testing. You literally went to the launch blind, believing you were immune to failure. On top of all this, you accepted the prime closing spot on the Game Awards, where gamers expect a Game of the Year level worthy announcement. with a bland trailer that didn't even show what your game was, followed by weeks of silence, ending that with an out-of-touch streamer event just prior to launch. In my honest opinion, this was one of the worst marketing fails in gaming history. I generally think you're right about negative content farming, review bombing, and inexcusable personal attacks. I don't. But the failure of this game is not on gamers, but you. Hopefully, on your next project, you will find people who will tell you the hard truths. They won't. They're just going to keep hiring the same people over and over again. The same people who are going to tell them exactly what they want to hear. This is delusional, man. Take responsibility. Yes, the team went indie to get away from the golden handcuffs of corporate game dev, but you guys ended up making something look like EA published it. The 2014 whining about toxic gamers is over. Drop the toxic positivity. Am I out of touch? No, it's the gamers who are wrong. Yeah, so this guy, total nincompoop. I got a couple highlights here. So we have Disbrew, multiple boring wait faces to fight 3 people on a massive map. I could have pointed out your problems just by watching a gameplay video. We have Savvy here. Thank you for admitting toxic positivity is indeed a killer. The truth is you guys were high on your own farts. People pooped on it because it was bad. It was generic. It looks like you outsourced everything to people who just buy assets. The people giving you positive encouragement lied. None of them bought skins, and nothing is stopping them from playing. Nothing is stopping every person who likes this tweet from playing and buying the in-app purchases. But it ain't happening. So yes, back to the mill with you because you need to be told what to do by another company churning for the investors, to which you will eventually be laid off there again as well. I think she meant to say you can cry about negativity, but you'll never improve if you don't actually ask why it happened. And you don't want to ask why it happened, because then you might cry because God forbid someone tells you what made it unappealing. If I put your mounts next to other mounts like the Assassin's Creed Shadows one, I cannot tell the difference which is for what game. I can tell you exactly where you went wrong, but I highly doubt you'd accept it. And then Master of the TDS over here, Buddy has a fucking full-on fucking breakdown, so here we go. Number 1, internal hype from your friends is not proof of anything. Every failed project in history has an inner circle saying it was lightning in a bottle, when the only people telling you it is amazing are the ones already invested in it succeeding. That is living in an echo chamber. It's not validation. True. A trailer exists to be judged. That is literally its purpose. If people watch it and decide they are not interested, that is not slander, that is marketing meeting reality. True, you put a trailer out so people can get a taste for your product, and if they don't like it based off the trailer, well duh, like, okay, that's what a trailer is for. A trailer is for you to tease it. Here's a bit of the project. Are you guys excited? Some will say yes, some will say no. That's the whole point of a fucking trailer. Consumers are allowed to look at a product and say no thanks. We do not owe applause for effort because a game team worked hard. This is game sales, not kindergarten art hour. Personal harassment is bad. Some people go too far and is disgusting behavior that should be called out every time. I do agree, some people do take things too far. Definitely. But pretending every piece of criticism about the actual game falls in that same category is dishonest. That's what I said! Hey! In reality, it is a fringe minority going too far, not the majority, and acting otherwise is just disingenuous. Review bombing is not a universal excuse. Yes, brigading exists, and some people absolutely dogpile. It is also true that people boot up a game, feel no hook in the first 20 minutes, and leave a negative review because they simply did not enjoy it. This is not a new phenomenon, so stop pretending your case is special. It's no different than when you start a TV show, and you're like, yeah, this isn't for me, you know, and then someone asks, oh, what'd you think of the show? I'm like, you're like, I tapped out after like episode 1, it just wasn't doing it for me, and that's it. Or you watch a movie, and you're like 20 minutes in, and you're like, I'm kind of bored. This isn't for me. And that's it. Same thing with a video game. Being indie does not entitle anyone to success. Passion project, no AI, and no corporate meddling are not selling points. Players buy games because they are fun, not because the developers suffered nobly while making them. If your game performed poorly, the question should be why it missed the audience, not why you feel it deserved to succeed. Your feelings are not market reality. Number 6, you are absolutely blaming gamers. Saying you are not blaming gamers while spending paragraphs blaming gamers is still blaming gamers. Softer wording does not change the intention. At the end of the day, this article is like an overdramatic deflection from a simple but painful truth. People did not like your game, and you couldn't handle it. Learn from it, improve, and move on. If you cannot accept reality, blaming everyone else will not fix anything. Another one. We got another one here. Oh my god, I got a bunch of these. There is no bigger mystery in game development to me. The games that hundreds of people work on for years and nobody can see that they're just bad and stand no chance. Highguard is one such game, and now you have a developer still unable to believe they made a bad game. No, it's not the gamer culture that killed it, and the Game Awards, or the rage-baiting YouTubers, not the boring artificial world, not the pseudo-edgy yet generic characters, not the corpo-style UI, not the tired genre. It truly boggles my mind. The article starts with quoting about how the game was received internally, yet all it took was one trailer for an average gamer to understand this was doomed to fail. Highguard, Concord, the Painkiller reboot, and more. Hundreds of people worked on these games for years. How does it happen that they ever see the light of day in the form they do? What is this? Is this the legendary toxic positivity? Something else? Yes, it's the legendary toxic positivity and people just getting high off their own farts, like Savvy said. If a streamer loses 90% of viewers in one stream, bad streamer. A restaurant, I almost said restaurant. If a restaurant loses 90% of its customers in one day, bad restaurant. If a series loses 90% of its audience one episode in, bad series. If a game loses 90% of players in 2 days, it's the player's fault. That's how it works here. That's how it works. TLDR. The developers of Highguard think their game was perfect, better than anything. The only reason the game fails was because of the toxic gamers spreading hate against the game. What an entitled group of toxically positive weirdos. No wonder the game failed if you think the slop that was produced was great. They are so out of touch with what gamers actually want. They have no idea what a good game is and what isn't. Instead, they blame the chuds, the incel, the toxic audience for review bombing and hating on the body positivity character designs. They think the gameplay loops, the core gunplay mechanics, or the actual PvP design was perfect. If Out of Touch had a poster child of a product, this idiotic rant in this game would be it. Savvy's got another one, by the way. Toxic positivity killed Highguard before it even launched, and the virtue signalers made sure it died with a double tap. Remember every single person making defense posts and liking those posts could be playing the game and buying skins in shop, but they aren't doing that. I'd love to sit down with the core decision makers and see what was going on mentally. I'd love to pick apart all of this like a proper dissection, but I doubt they'd sit down with me for that. That's true. And you see this all the time. People who virtue signal and are like white knight for all this shit, they don't actually end up putting their money where their mouth is and playing or watching anything. They just want it to be there. You don't actually fucking support it though. We're going to end on Endymion here. I'm going to end on Endymion. So he basically quotes all that toxic positivity stuff. He said, "That's toxic positivity rearing its head like always. If no one is able to critique things due to the fear of being ostracized or attacked, you end up with something that is made in an echo chamber. You can't blame anyone but the game for its response, however. Our greatest proved the AAA to indie pipeline can work. Many other multiplayer games or just indie games in general do too. And here's a list of a bunch of indie games that have done well last year. Schedule 1, Repo, Stardew Valley, Mutagenics, Escape from Duckov, Dispatch, Blueprints, Claire Obscura, The Alters, everything Supergiant Games has made ever. The list goes on. Unfortunately, Highguard just wasn't it. You can blame content creators all you want, but remember, it wasn't just what you would call grifters that make content saying your game was bad. It was everyone across the spectrum. So you need to ask yourself why that is. Also, woke trash? I have never heard anyone call this game that at all. Uninspired art design maybe, but there's nothing woke here at all. And you know what? I would agree with that. Is some of the character design shit? Yeah, obviously. But some of them I'm like, eh. You know, like at least none of the women are like fucking super fat, ugly cows. You know, like that's good at least. You know, and none of them have pronouns in their fucking bio. I don't know the sexuality of any of them like Overwatch does. So, you know, there's that at least. It's just boring, bland, generic hero shooter. I even gave you guys ideas on how to fix your game in my videos. I doubt you saw that though, because again, you're just saying things at this point. You're angry. I get that. But the entire post comes off as childish to me. Toxic positivity claims another one again. And it won't be the last time. Think on that, but let's be real. You'll probably block me because clearly you guys have zero criticism thrown your way if this is how you respond to real life playtests. Oh, well. Oh, well, indeed. So there we go, guys. There we go. Highguard, massive amount of its team was laid off 16 days after release. My computer's about to die, just like how this game's about to fucking die. So let me know how you guys feel in the comments down below. And have you played Highguard yet? If you have, let me know as well what you think about it, and I'll see you guys next time.